Yo, what's up, nerds? It's Guys That Magic. You know us. I got Hunter with us today. We're gonna do
What
an
up?
upgrade. Oh, sorry, man. Go ahead. Say what's up.
Hi.
Hi. So today we're doing a $100 upgrade for the Bedecked Brokers, which is a dumb name. But Hunter got $100, and he's gonna try to make an awesome budget deck. And I'm just gonna throw it to you, man. You're gonna tell us what you did with your $100.
Yes, first off, we open up the deck. We look at the two main face commanders. The face commander is Perrie the Pulverizer. The alternate commander is Cross Defense Contractor. And we kind of look at it and decide which way we want to go with the deck. So let's start off with Perrie. Perrie the Pulverizer. It is 1, a green, a white, and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature Rhino Soldier. It says, when Perrie enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on target creature. When Perrie attacks, target creature you control gains trample and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of different kinds of counters among permanents you control. So it's kind of doing the whole Voltron, make one thing really giant, do a bunch of damage. Got that theme going.
You also kind of spread out a bunch of counters, yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on the different types of counters. Because it's
Right.
for different kinds of counters. It's not specifically for how many counters you have. They have to be different kinds.
Seems weird.
And the other one is Cross Defense Contractor. Cross Defense Contractor is 1, a green, a white, and a blue for a 2/4 legendary creature Cat Advisor. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, put a shield counter on a target creature an opponent controls. And whenever you put one or more counters on a creature you don't control, tap that creature and goad it. It gains trample until your next turn.
Interesting.
So I've already talked about this in the last Cabaretti Cacophony.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to help my opponents.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, you don't like this card, I bet.
I don't. So that is why I'm building around Perrie the Pulverizer. We're going to pulverize our opponents into the ground and make a bunch of different cards with a bunch of different counters on it.
Well, then I guess I'm excited to see what you did. What are some of your additions?
Yeah, so going into the additions, I said this in the last video as well. I always look at the core set and I figure out what cards from the core set should be in this already, even though they're not. And I found these three. I think they all fit perfectly. The first one is the Planeswalker Elspeth Resplendent. Elspeth Resplendent is 3 and 2 white, starting loyalty of 5. It has a +1 that says choose up to one target creature, put a +1/+1 counter and a counter from among flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance on it. It has a -3 that says look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a permanent card with a mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield with a shield counter on it. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And a -7, which is its ultimate that just says create 5 3/3 White Angel creature tokens with flying. So, we're doing the counter thing. This thing gives a whole bunch of different kinds of counters.
I was gonna say that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. So not only is that +1 giving it a +1/+1 counter, it's also giving a different counter. So that +1 is just giving 2 counters already to make Perrie the Pulverizer give +2/+2.
Oh, no, I think it's 3 because isn't a Planeswalker counter considered a counter?
You're absolutely correct.
Woo!
Forgot about the Planeswalker counter.
That's nutty,
Uh,
dude.
It is nutty. The other card we're adding in here is Falco Spara Pact Weaver. Falco Spara Pact Weaver is 1, a green, a white, and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature bird demon. It has flying and trample. It says when it enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on it. And you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control in addition to paying their other costs. So we are going to be making just different kinds of counters all over the place. So getting that extra ability to cast stuff from the top of our library just by just dropping one of the counters we can add later seems pretty good.
Seems like some pretty high synergy, if you ask me.
Exactly. And this final card I think is perfect. It's Broker's Ascendancy. Broker's Ascendancy is just a green, white, blue. It's an enchantment. It says at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control.
Well,
Seems
we've seen
really good.
We've seen this card go out of hand in standard, yeah.
Yeah. So everything just gets a +1/+1 counter. That's incredible. So if
A lot of
if you're
counters.
going wide, you can deal a bunch of damage with Broker's Ascendancy.
Well, I would say that the three you found out right off the bat are home runs.
They are.
What else you got?
So this next couple of cards, we are now diving into the realm of just getting as many different counters as possible. This first card, Luminous Broodmoth. Luminous Broodmoth is 2 and 2 white for a 3/4 creature insect. It says it's got flying. It says whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. Fantastic.
Forgot that card existed. Holy shit.
Isn't it awesome?
Yeah.
It's just your creatures don't die. They come back
Yeah.
flying. It's even
It's a
better.
better persist, dude.
Yeah, exactly. This one is Ominous Seas. Ominous Seas is 1 and a blue for an enchantment. It says whenever you draw a card, put a foreshadow counter on Ominous Seas. You can remove 8 foreshadow counters from Ominous Seas to create an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. It also has a cycling of 2. So if you didn't want this card, you could get rid of it and draw 2. Or draw a card.
I'm a big fan of Krakens, dude.
Yeah, I know you are. So we got that foreshadow counter. That counts
Nice.
as another counter.
Nice.
This last card of these 3 is Bounty of the Luxa. Bounty of the Luxa is 2, a green, and a blue for an enchantment. It says at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, remove all flood counters from Bounty of Luxa. If no counters were removed this way, put a flood counter on Bounty of Luxa and draw a card. Otherwise, add a colorless, a green, and a blue to your mana pool. This card seems pretty nuts, and when I found it originally, I was like, it's only 11 cents. You're either drawing a card or adding 3 mana. That's awesome.
That's pretty good, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
And a flood counter.
Exactly. So we're getting that extra counter.
Perfect.
Moving on to the other kinds of counters we're throwing in here. We have Simic Ascendancy. Simic Ascendancy is just a green and a blue for an enchantment. You can pay 1, a green and a blue, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. Seems pretty good.
Can proliferate, you go crazy.
We are growing some stuff. Yeah. So not only does it give 1/1 counters, it gives growth counters that adds 2 to Perrie the Pulverizer. This next card is Tome of Legends. Tome of Legends is 2 generic mana for an artifact. It says Tome of Legends enters the battlefield with a page counter on it. Whenever your commander enters the battlefield or attacks, put a page counter on Tome of Legends. You can also pay 1 to tap this to remove a page counter from Tome of Legends to draw a card.
Some
Pretty
good
good synergy.
synergy there. Yeah, I'll say pretty good synergy there too.
Yeah. Especially when our commander really wants to attack. So
Yeah.
This last card, Hex Drinker. Hex Drinker is just 1 green mana for a creature snake. It starts off as a 2/1, but it has level up for 1, meaning you can pay 1 mana to level this up. If it gets to level 3 to 7, it's got protection from instants, and it's a 4/4. If it gets over level 8, it has protection from everything, and is a 6/6. So those are level counters.
This is a really good card too, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, even more types of counters.
Level up counters.
Exactly. And these next 3, I just want more. Give me more kinds of counters. Champion of Lambholt. Champion of Lambholt is 1 and 2 green for a 1/1 creature human warrior. It says creatures with power less than Champion of Lambholt's power can't block creatures you control. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Champion of Lambholt. So this one's just the good old +1/+1 counters.
Feel it.
But it
Feel
can
it.
get out of hand pretty quickly. This next is a legendary artifact called That Which Was Taken. That which was taken is 5 generic mana. It says you can pay 4 and tap it to put a divinity counter on target permanent other than that which was taken. Each permanent with a divinity counter on it is indestructible. So just give it to your commander.
Give it to a lot of shit, dude. Goddamn.
Yeah, just keep giving all those divinity counters all over the place.
Yeah.
And Beastmaster Ascension is a really good card. It is 2 and a green for an enchantment that says whenever a creature you control attacks, you may put a quest counter on Beastmaster Ascension. As long as Beastmaster Ascension has 7 or more quest counters on it, creatures you control get +5/+5.
Yeah, I play with
Giving
this card. This card's nuts.
giving that extra damage.
Yeah.
It's
Card's
really
nuts.
good. These next 2 cards that we're going to talk about, I kind of just labeled it as Judgment Day. These are kind of alternate win con-ish cards, but they also work really well with our commander. This first one is Faithbound Judge. Faithbound Judge is 1 and 2 white for a 4/4 creature spirit soldier. It has Defender, Flying, and Vigilance. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, if Faithbound Judge has 2 or fewer judgment counters on it, put a judgment counter on it. As long as Faithbound Judge has 3 or more judgment counters on it, it can attack as though it didn't have Defender. It also has a disturb cost of 5 and 2 white, meaning if it was dead and it's in your graveyard, you can cast it again for that disturb cost. And you get Sinner's Judgment. Sinner's Judgment is an enchantment or a curse. You can enchant player. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a judgment counter on Sinner's Judgment. Then, if there are 3 or more judgment counters on it, enchanted player loses the game. If Sinner's Judgment would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile is dead. So
Wait, so if that guy gets attacked, or that person gets attacked, they get a Sinner's Judgment or a counter?
the beginning of upkeep.
Oh, upkeep, sorry. So in 3 turns they're dead.
And 3 turns are dead.
What the fuck? That's
and
stupid.
if you have ways of proliferating, you
Uh,
can kill them quicker.
that's really stupid.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I guess good job. Yeah.
And the other card is Strixhaven Stadium. Strixhaven Stadium is 3 generic mana for an artifact. You can tap it to add a colorless mana and put a point counter on Strixhaven Stadium. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, remove a point counter from Strixhaven Stadium. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, put a point counter on Strixhaven Stadium. Then, if it has 10 or more point counters on it, remove them all, and that player loses the game.
Jeez. Okay. You're
So
playing like that, huh?
we're just trying to kill some people, you know?
Oh, I see that.
This
I mean,
is
so
why
far you've showed me like 9 different kinds of counters.
exactly my point. We got judgment counters, we got point counters. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Rounding out some of the other counters, there's a couple green cards. This first one is Jugan Defends the Temple. Jugan Defends the Temple. It costs 2 and a green for enchantment Saga. Don't forget, these are lore counters on sagas.
I forgot about that.
Different kind of counters. This first counter, when it gets it, is create a 1/1 green human monk creature token with tap to add a green. Second mode is put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Different kinds of counters. And its third mode, exile the saga, then return to the battlefield transformed under your control. When it's transformed, it turns into Remnant of the Rising Star, which is an enchantment creature dragon spirit that is a 2/2. It has flying, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on that creature. As long as you control 5 or more modified creatures, Remnant of the Rising Star gets +5/+5 and trample.
Wow.
Any type of counter is a modification.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty wild.
this has lore counters, this has +1/+1 counters, and it also really helps itself with the team.
And it's too bad the lore counters don't stay around for more than 3 turns.
That's true. But who knows? We'll make
Take
use of
advantage,
it with our commander.
Exactly.
And this other green card is Vivian Monster's Advocate. Vivian Monster's Advocate is 3 and 2 green for a planeswalker with a starting loyalty of 3. It has a static ability that says you may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. It has a +1 ability to create a 3/3 green beast creature token for your choice of vigilance counter, a reach counter, or a trample counter on it. It's got a -2. It says when you cast your next creature spell this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser converted mana cost, put it on the battlefield, shuffle your library. So we're mainly just doing that +1.
Yeah, damn. Pretty good.
Pretty
I'm liking
good.
them so far.
And then we have things we can do with the counters. This little category here. This is the Ozolith. The Ozolith is just 1 generic mana for a legendary artifact. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith at the beginning of combat on your turn. If the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature. So the Ozolith can hold flying counters, vigilance counters, reach counters, etc., etc.
You get a counter, and you get a counter.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to put it all on one creature, but our commander just cares that it's different kind of counters. So
All right, fine. Then just you get a counter.
exactly. And this other one, Kadama of the West Tree. I think we all know this one. This is 2 and a green. Legendary creature spirit that is a 3/3. It has reach. Modified creatures you control have trample. Whenever a modified creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle.
Seems like a good way to ramp.
It does. We're also going to add 1 Path to Exile. I just think this is one of the best white removals in the game, and it's very good. So
It is very good. I would
there's a
agree.
reason. There's a reason I'm just throwing this in here.
There is a reason?
There is a reason. You'll see.
Okay.
By the way, Path to Exile is just 1 white for an instant. Exile target creature. Its controller may search the library for a basic land card. Put that card on the battlefield tapped and shuffle. In
Yeah,
case you didn't know.
I'd say I kind of glossed over that. Everyone should know that card.
And then just a couple of lands that we're adding in here that give different types of counters as well that help, because our commander does say counters from permanents. We are adding Calciform Pools, which is a land. You can tap it to add a colorless mana. You can also pay 1 and tap it to put a storage counter on Calciform Pools. You can pay 1, remove X storage counters from Calciform Pools, add X mana in any combination of white and or blue.
Okay.
So there's a way to get some counters, as
Storage
well
counters, yeah.
as Tyrite Sanctum. Tyrite Sanctum is a land that taps for a colorless mana. You can also pay 2 and tap it. Target legendary creature becomes a god in addition to its other types. Put a +1/+1 counter on it. You can also pay 4 to tap this and sacrifice Tyrite Sanctum. Put an indestructible counter on target god.
Oh, does it make that creature a god forever?
Yes, sir.
Holy damn.
So we'll turn our commander into a god and then give it indestructible.
So you're multiple ways of making indestructible. Nice, love it.
Yep. And then
Right
these
on.
last two lands we're adding in here just to make things a little bit better on the color front. Rejuvenating Springs, which enters the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents, which you most likely will when you're playing commander. Tap to add a green or blue. And Spara's Headquarters, which is the tri-land of a Forest Plains island, enters battlefield tapped, cycling 3.
Never go wrong with the Trilands.
Exactly.
All right, well, I'm very excited about all these additions. And this is the unfortunate part. We have to go through and tell me all the things you had to cut to make room for all the awesome additions. So, do you want to start rattling off what you're cutting or what?
Yeah, let's start rattling off. We had to make room for all of our cool, awesome, new, different kind of counters. So these 3 I want to get rid of. Go bye-bye. So this first one, this is the reason I added Path to Exile. They threw in Declaration in Stone.
Interesting.
Declaration in Stone is 1 and a white for a sorcery. It says exile target creature and all other creatures its controller controls with the same name as that creature. That player investigates for each non-token creature exiled this way. What a
Yeah.
weird card to add.
Like it says in there, it's you can create a bunch of tokens, right? But I mean, in a format of one ofs, it doesn't seem very good.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I mean, I think this was thrown in here to go against Cabaretti because Cabaretti is making a ton of tokens.
Right.
But in just to bring it to the table, uh, most players are not running token theme. They could, but it's unlikely.
You never know.
The other card we're getting rid of is Cross Defense Contractor, what we talked about earlier. It is the other commander. I don't need to talk about this card. We talked about it earlier. Again, just don't like helping my opponents. We're not really doing a GOAT theme, so no thanks.
Yeah, get him out.
And this last card, this couple, is Primal Empathy. Primal Empathy is 1, a green, and a blue for an enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. I mean, this basically says you might get a counter or you might draw a card.
Yeah,
I think the cards we added are better card draw, and we are able to do the counter thing better.
I was gonna say this thing like you added things that can give everything 1/1. You don't need this one.
Exactly. These next three, I got rid of Bribe Taker. Bribe Taker is 5 and a green for a 6/6 creature, Rhino Warrior. Got trample. It says when it enters the battlefield, for each kind of counter on permanents you control, you may put your choice of a +1/+1 counter or a counter of that kind on Bribe Taker. While it is doing stuff for our commander, and it is going to pump itself pretty hard, it's pumping itself pretty hard, and it's 6 mana. I always
Yeah,
look at things in a world of, if this is the only card that I have in my hand and nothing on the field, what's it doing for me? And it's doing 6 mana for a 6/6.
yeah, I feel it, man.
This next card is Skyboon Evangelist. It is 4 and a white for a 3/3 creature bird advisor. It's got flying. It says when it enters the battlefield, support 6, meaning put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 6 other target creatures. Whenever a creature with a counter on it attacks one of your opponents, that creature gains flying until end of turn. That's cool. I mean, but it's the same kind of counters that we already have.
All right.
And once it does that, like, it's 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer.
Yeah.
Kind of a lot. And Fathom Mage we are getting rid of. Fathom Mage is 2, a green and a blue for a 1/1. It's a creature human wizard. It has evolved, meaning whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Whenever a +1/+1 counter is put on Fathom Mage, you may draw a card. Eventually, this creature is going to be just big and do nothing.
Yeah.
So,
A 1/1 can block it. Want want.
womp womp. Exactly. And then we're just making room at this point. So some of these might be good, but I like the cards that we got. So this card is Forgotten Ancient. It is 3 and a green for a 0/3 creature elemental. It says whenever a player casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Forgotten Ancient. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may move any number of +1/+1 counters from Forgotten Ancient onto other creatures. Once again, this card is just doing the +1/+1 counter thing. We want different kind of counters.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good card for a Precon. That's about it.
Exactly. Next card, Oblivion Stone. Oblivion Stone is 3 generic mana for an artifact. You can pay 4 and tap it to put a fate counter on target permanent. You can pay 5 and tap it to sacrifice Oblivion Stone, destroy each non-land permanent without a fate counter on it, then remove all fate counters from all permanents. So it's a very slow board wipe.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It
It's
is heavy.
like if you wanted to play it immediately, you can use it as just a board wipe and pay 8 mana. That's a lot.
That's it? Oh.
That's it. This card is called Hoofprints of the Stag. Hoofprints of the Stag is 1 and a white for a tribal enchantment elemental. It says whenever you draw a card, you may put a hoofprint counter on hoofprints of the stag. You can also pay 2 and a white, remove 4 hoofprint counters from hoofprints of the stag, create a 4/4 white elemental creature token with flying. Activate only during your turn. It does a whole lot of nothing until it gets 4. Then you pay 3 just to make a 4/4.
It's also kind of weird. I've never a tribal enchantment elemental.
Yeah,
Interesting.
the tribal enchantment. This deck is not tribal at all. I don't know
Yeah,
why. Like, I get it. It's just a different kind of counter, but
that's true.
it's just
But you found
no
better
thanks.
counters.
Exactly. So making more room, we're getting rid of Power Conduit. Power Conduit is too generic for an artifact. You can tap it to remove a counter from a permanent you control and choose one. You can put a charge counter on target artifact, and you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. What is the point of a charge counter? Just the fact that it's a different
I
counter?
say probably just the fact that it's a counter. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, all right, this literally doesn't do anything.
It makes Perry the Pulverizer one bigger, dude.
You can add a charge counter to remove it to add a +1/+1 counter. I don't know. We're getting rid of a Johnny Unyielding. A Johnny Unyielding is a planeswalker that costs 4, a green and a white for a starting loyalty of 4. It's got a +2 that says reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all non-land permanent cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. It's got a -2 that says exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power, and a -9 that says put 5 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, and 5 loyalty counters on each other planeswalker you control. The only good part about this card for our deck is that ultimate, and it's really hard to get to. Otherwise, it does a whole lot of nothing for our synergy of the deck.
Yeah, I feel it. It's not the
Final
strongest.
card of this little set is Voral of the Whole Clade. Voral of the Whole Clade is 1, a green and a blue for a 1/4 legendary creature human merfolk. You can pay a green and a blue and tap it. Double the number of each kind of counter on target artifact, creature, or land. That's cool, but our commander doesn't care if there's double. He just
He
cares
doesn't
about
care if there's yeah,
different.
exactly. True.
So this one's going. Let's get rid of some more, shall we?
Make some room, man.
We're getting rid of Urban Evolution. Urban Evolution is 3, a green and a blue for a sorcery that just says draw 3 cards. You may play an additional land this turn. 5 mana, draw 3 cards. We have other card draw we added. So
Right.
don't need this one. This one is Wicker Ba Elder. Wicker Ba Elder is 3 and a green for a 4/4 creature Treefolk Shaman. It says it enters the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. You can pay a green to remove a -1/-1 counter from Wicker Ba Elder to destroy target artifact or enchantment. So this card is 5 mana to destroy a target artifact or enchantment.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem too good.
I mean, it's common.
It is a common. That's why it's getting gone. And unfortunately, we are getting rid of Swiftfoot Boots. Swiftfoot Boots is 2 generic mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste, equipped of 1. I know Swiftfoot Boots is always in Precon commander decks. A lot of people love this card for commander, but it doesn't enhance our deck in a way that the other cards are. So I'm getting rid of the boots. I'm sorry. Hate me
Boy,
for it
you boy, you
all you want.
crazy, but all right.
Hate
Get
me
right
for
to
it all you
get
want.
right, get
We
right to the
added a
comments,
bunch of
dude.
different. Yeah, we added a bunch of different artifacts and stuff.
This guy's going crazy.
Yeah.
All right,
So we
well,
added a bunch of different artifacts like Strixhaven Stadium, stuff like that. So
all right, crazy man. And then what else you got?
all right. Final 3 cards. Planner Outburst. Planner Outburst is 3 and 2 white for sorcery. Destroy all non-land creatures. It's got an Awaken of 4 that costs 5 and 3 white, meaning if you cast this spell for it, also put 4 +1/+1 counters on a target land. and it becomes a 0/0 elemental with haste. It's still a land.
Yeah.
Essentially, we don't want a 5-mana destroy all creatures spell. We already have another board wipe in this deck in the Precon that's just better. So don't need
All
this
right.
one.
I trust you.
Also getting rid of Angelic Sleuth. Angelic Sleuth is 2 and a white for a 2/3 creature angel advisor. As flying, it says whenever another permanent you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, investigate. I don't care.
You don't care.
I don't care. I don't care about investigating.
You don't
Cool.
want. You want to get a clue, dude?
Cool. That I can pay 2 to draw a card. Nah, I'm good.
I got a clue.
I got a clue, and it's not for you. And we're getting rid of Grateful Apparition. Grateful Apparition is 1 and a white for a 1/1 creature spirit flying. Whenever Grateful Apparition deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, proliferate.
Hey, I added that card.
Yeah, you did, dude. Look at that. You love your spirits. This just we just had to make room. And this
I
was
get
the
it.
weakest.
I mean, I don't want to get it, but I get it.
Yeah. And so we removed some lands. Let's talk about the lands we removed to make room for the ones we added.
Okay.
First one, Ash Barrens. Ash Barrens is just a land that taps for colorless with basic land cycling 1. Yep.
Yep.
And Myriad Landscape comes in tap, adds for colorless. You can pay 2, sack this to go get 2 basics.
Yep.
Easy removal. And then we're just getting rid of 1 of each basic land. Plains, Forest, Island.
Hey, you sound like me now, man.
Isn't that cool, man?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we cut our lands from 38 to 37 by removing 1 extra land.
Okay.
But we lowered the curve, so it works.
It's like the theme of these kind of decks, dude. Yeah. Lowering
the
curve, lowering mana, dude.
Want to go faster, want to go wider, want to go. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'm liking the upgrade, and you had the $100 limit. So how close do you get to that?
So the final number I got to when I added all the cards that I added into this deck, the total amount was $97.93. That is coming from a market price of the lowest card on TCG Player.
Okay. You did pretty
Yeah.
well then, bud.
Hit it.
Hit it. Hit Exugu, dude.
Hit it, Sugu.
Cool, man. Well, I'm liking the list. Down below in the description, you can find Hunter's link to the upgrade. So please check it out. Let us know down in the comments too whether you like this upgrade. Maybe Hunter missed something. Maybe he didn't and you love it and it's amazing. Any and all feedback is extremely welcome, and we'd love to read it. Also, just if you like this, please throw us a little like, a little comment, a little subscribe. And we have a Instagram, so go and follow us there. You can see coming up, we have a bunch of cool spoilers coming up, but that is where we'll be posting all of that. That is at Guys That Magic. We also got a Twitter, so if you want to follow us at Guys That Magic, we talk about all cool things magic. And with that, that is Guys That Magic signing off. Thank you guys. Thank you, Hunter. We'll see you next time in the $300 upgrade, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. Peace.
Bye.